Order at 5:33. Motion to accept the minutes.
We'll make a motion to accept the minutes. May 8th.
Yes, Mike.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes of May 8th as written. If there's no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. V-Trans Bicycle and Pedestrian Program.
Program.
Oh, program. Program.
I forgot the R on that one.
So that's this grant application.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up at this meeting because it was sent to us. I didn't realize that the bike ped program was still going to be available in 2013. I thought some of that stuff had gone under the transportation alternative. I'm hearing that there's going to be about $4 million in this.
Oh, that's a chunk of
So
money.
it's a big chunk of money. Matt Mann is, you know, he's the one that told me first, and
Right,
then I got
yeah.
this. I guess it's just, is everybody ready to go for it with this one? It's a 90-10 split this time, not 80-20. I think the next step would be to talk to RSG and see how much it would cost for the next set of, I don't know if they call it a scoping study. I don't know exactly what it is that they need for the grant application part of the scoping study, which is what we did before. So for them to put that together.
In order to submit an application.
Yeah, because we need to submit that along with the application.
And we don't have that already?
Not for the specific
Not for the bike
section that we would be
pedestrian.
asking for this particular grant.
Okay.
So like for this last grant that we got, it was from X point to Y,
right,
whatever,
right.
you know, so we need to have that again and talk about that next phase.
And
So-
when is this due? End of June?
I want to say August.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, I read through that thing that you sent us, but
Oh no,
Yeah.
July 26th.
so.
I mean, I did talk to Pip today, and he said that he would be willing to help with getting it together again. And
But RSG should be able to put together. I mean, that's a realistic time frame. I would
yeah,
think
as
for
long
them.
as they have time. I don't
Right.
know what's on their plate, and I haven't really approached them about this
Yeah.
grant.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying RSG just because.
Well, you know, the other people who we certainly had good luck with, and I don't know whether they do this, are the ones who supervised from White River
Oh,
Pathways.
Yeah.
But maybe we try and approach
Yeah.
it the same way. But RSG,
I mean, I'm thinking RSG just because
they
they've
should
already
already
done,
have the
they've
data,
already,
right?
Yeah, they
But
probably.
if they don't
it's
have
just-
time, then
yeah.
you know there are other possibilities.
So I just kind of wanted you know, does everybody want to go ahead and have me start working on that? I mean, it is this grant that we just received, our match for the $250,000 that we got under the transportation alternative, our match is $62,500. So if we go ahead with this grant, it's a 10% match. He's thinking it's around the same. Matt said he's thinking it's about the award 250, 300,000, that range.
Right.
So the 10%, 30, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if we're ready to commit to that in this short of a time frame, because we're talking about RSG being hired for X amount of dollars, or whoever being hired for this next phase, and then saying yes, we will also commit to the match. We really haven't.
Why don't we find out from RSG what kind of money we're looking at for that?
For that, okay.
The other thing we might do is approach Landmark.
Yeah.
And say,
Yeah, if we want to go ahead, that's kind of what I was thinking.
can you kick in either towards the match or towards the
Or both.
engineering, or both, exactly.
Yeah.
See what they're able to do.
If we want to turn around this
Right.
fast with this, I mean, I hate
Right.
to miss this opportunity because I have no
I know,
idea.
if it's possible that we could sort of, did Matt have an opinion about that as far as, does that increase our chances, decrease our chances?
He didn't feel that I get the feeling that, I'm not going to say it's going to increase our chances, but because we've been successful and this is an entire
Probably
project,
not a bad thing.
it's probably not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still, those two together, if it were only 250, still would not complete our project.
Probably not, but
So
it would be
we'd be,
so much,
yeah, a lot closer.
in a lot shorter time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
May I?
Yes.
I had a small conversation with John Kaplan, who was putting together this, and I did it only under the guise of the Green Bike Project, just to find out what the town might need to get with this, and I did it independently of Cynthia, so I apologize if I was stepping on your toes. And he seemed to indicate that what he would like to see is sort of a complete sort of visionary project that rather than just go for additional bike paths or like a bike locker or whatever, but that the town apply for this with the idea that there's a complete project. So in addition to the bike head pathway up to Landmark, there might be lighting, there might be signs, for bicycles and pedestrian use. There might be additional bike shelter space, but all this is a sort of unified project, and I think that's what he was trying to tell me, is that don't go for just
Dress it up a little bit.
Yeah, just really integrate the whole project together. So it's very exciting because I know Landmark would love to see that. I know we would like to see that from the town's point of view and from the bike project's point of view. So I encourage you to go forward.
I guess the question would be what the sort of reasonable balance between, showing an interest in that is, and not building our budget up so far that we're reducing our ability to complete a project.
Sure.
So I think we'd have to, in some ways that would be more of, embellishing the application as to what our sort of ultimate fantasy would be, and describing that, this takes us a long way in that direction, or something along that, I don't know what the right way to word it would be, because, if we end up with a $900,000 project as opposed to an $800,000 project, and we only get $600,000, including our match, then
Sure.
Did he
Then we
indicate
haven't
to
got
you
too far.
what he thought the awards? Did he say anything?
We didn't talk about that
No.
because he was
I haven't talked to him yet.
en route, and I really only contacted him because when I looked at the list of things they want to fund, it was very exciting to me,
Yeah.
from my point of view. So.
I mean, this is the grant that we didn't get last year, but
right,
I think
which
that we've
probably
got it so,
increases our odds.
Yeah,
I would
and I think we've got it is so. The grant that was just written was done with a lot more thought because of the time frame we had to put that first one in.
Right.
And it's so much more refined, and at this point, it's almost, with maybe adding some of those things, it's almost
Right.
just
Yeah.
copy hit.
Right.
And so.
Although we would want to make it clear that we've put that
Right.
additional effort in.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
All right, so I'll start with talking to RSG about their time frame
yeah,
and what the cost would be to get us what we need from them for a grant
in order to do
application in
that
July.
grant. Yeah.
If they don't have the time, it would surprise me if they said that they wouldn't.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah,
they would,
so-
unless for some reason they're totally swamped, but if,
Yeah.
Has Landmark ever offered to pony up a little bit?
well, they ponied
Get
up,
a grant or something?
yeah, no, they ponied up
Yeah.
initially in order to, we basically bought ourselves a year by doing the sort of first piece of the feasibility study. We kicked in and they kicked in half in order to get us from where we were, which was some basic drawings, up to essentially the point where we could apply for those grants that the grant that we just got and the bike ped grant.
Yeah, and
which
I
we
did
had applied
recently have a
for.
meeting with them, and they're asking what it is that they can do.
Yeah,
There's a great, I mean, they will do anything administratively that we would need them to
Right.
do. I just
Mhm.
can't find what that is. There
Yeah.
isn't a lot of that. Really, what we need is cash.
and in
But
fact,
I
I
don't
mean,
think we've really
God,
had
that's gonna
that
be
concrete conversation of what we're looking at for. And now I have some numbers, and I will have more numbers.
and
So
we may
easier
be
to have
able
that
to push
conversation.
them further on that. I mean, I brought this up when we went to that first meeting up there. Of, you know, they may have access to grant money that we don't have access to.
That's what I'm wondering.
And you know, it might be, it might be a matter of really saying to them, you guys need to go out and beat the bushes and find that grant money, because that's what's going to complete this project.
And they did
you know.
just recently hire a new, they've got a
Grant
grant
writer.
writer, and they had been kind of without a dedicated grant writer for a while. So that last meeting I had with them, that person was going to keep their eyes
Explore
open for
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Because I'd be amazed if there isn't, you know, I mean, it might not be what we need, but there must be money out there for this kind of thing for colleges, you would think.
Yeah,
And
I don't know if,
Definitely.
I don't
Whether
know.
it's
They're gonna
federal money
explore it.
or private
Mhm.
money, foundation money, who knows? But I'd be surprised.
So I will have another meeting with them now that I have more concrete figures in my head, and then since this has come up, you know,
Right.
there's
There was
a
someone
bigger
else
meeting.
who responded from Landmark to the email that you sent out originally, right?
Yeah, I believe was it Brent?
Brent.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're already in the loop. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think
No,
Kyle
No, and
was
they've
there
been
too.
and they've been a big part of this right since.
Yeah.
You know, when we completed, we had been having a discussion right from the beginning of planning any sidewalks here about it going up there. Upon completion of this one, they really came to us and said, we really want to keep going. How do we help make that? And we, you know, met. They've been
Right.
integral. And this guy, Kyle Strachey, who's on that email
that's
list,
all right. Yeah.
he's been part of the committee and so on. So they're definitely.
Okay, so I'll get
Doing
that.
their part.
I'll kind of just start that ball rolling.
Good. Public Safety Committee appointments.
He wants, I think.
Oh,
If-
sorry,
if I
I
may,
wasn't. Sorry.
Two ideas. One is that if you want to encourage Landmark to come up with something tangible on their end, you might consider having them build more infrastructure for bike shelters on their side, and also maybe providing free bikes to their students, because bikes often disappear from Putney and then later reappear.
End up there.
They later reappear. I don't want to say they
Elsewhere. Yeah.
So, you know, a local resident lost her bike recently, and I found it and returned it to her. Green bikes have gone missing as well. We've never lost a bike permanently, but, you know, if Landmark really wanted to put some money into adding to their non-fossil fueled infrastructure and really getting with the plan on this, it would be great to see.
Mhm.
The other thing to note is that the Green Bike Project just received $1,000 for a grant funding from the New England Grassroots Environmental Fund. So we've provided that to the town as our fiscal agent, so it's
Good.
great. And, you know, we can build on this success through this project.
Well, if in your discussions with, you know, I guess with Matt Mann and or Landmark, you know, because I would also guess that an effort on Landmark's part to increase their bike infrastructure might help in the application. You know, if Landmark were to say, yes, we're putting in a hub up here for all of this and we need to have a connection, that might be helpful too. So we should just urge that.
Thank you.
We haven't come up with a charge yet, but should we appoint these people since we can?
I don't know.
The other
I
person
don't
that,
know if we should come up with the charge first.
well,
then,
and did you get anywhere with finding anybody up at Landmark?
I emailed Peter and Brent was out of town for a couple days. I know they want somebody as
Okay.
part of that, so maybe we should wait. I just haven't. I wasn't here all day today, and
The other person who inquired is Len Howard, who I'm assuming would be Len Senior, who's on Brat Fire, and
yeah.
June called me after I had spoken to him and said, hey,
Yeah.
because he's Deb's brother, I guess. It's June's brother-in-law. but he would be interested too if we needed. He was sort of saying if you need more people.
I mean,
don't
I guess
know what
that's
it
the
would
thing.
do.
How many?
I don't think we
maybe-
need more people, but if we, he just put his name in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's fine.
but we should figure out the charge and we should get Landmark to pin it down. So before our next meeting, why don't we make sure we have a charge?
Okay.
And I think just the fact that we already have a contract from Wyndham County Sheriff's sort of slows the whole,
Yeah.
puts less urgency on it, but we should keep things rolling. So.
Okay. Oh. This. Did we skip the? Oh no, I'm not on the right agenda. Sorry. Solar. We're on solar.
So what's,
I was thinking I had that old agenda in front of me, and I was thinking that we were on the animal control thing that I need to have signed, but that's not where we're at.
solar RFP?
I guess at this point for the solar RFP, I've done, Daniel and I got together, we crossed some things out, we added some things, we changed some things. He's looked at it, since I did the changes. Your email said there wasn't really anything
I
that,
thought that perhaps the town requiring a 5-year warranty on something we didn't own wasn't really applicable, so
was that
I
in there?
suggested removing it, but
Oh, okay.
I didn't make any markup on your document, so it was just really your call.
Where was that at?
Well, didn't we talk, I don't know how you have it written in there. Let's see, this warranty shall be a minimum of 5 years for labor, page
Yeah.
4.
Right, that's probably unnecessary if you're just leasing power.
Okay,
But it could be necessary if there was some other purchase arrangement at the end of the term, because warranties on some items extend beyond 10 years, like PV panels might have a 25-year warranty. So you may leave it in and see what kind of creative responses you
yeah,
get.
because we did leave that other part in there about
Yeah, it can't hurt.
what
So-
cost it would what the cost would be to the town if they
Right,
acquired
so it
it.
depends on the type of proposal you get back.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing we talked about a little bit last time was, some warranties, probably not the right term, but some guarantee that they will provide what they're telling us. They, whether it's a warranty on the equipment or just a warranty of, meeting the service contract kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, that may be just implicit in the document itself. I don't know.
I think
but
it is as
Yeah.
part of the
But
entering into a
probably.
long-term service
Yeah, when you
agreement.
create
I
a
would think
contract,
so,
that'll be-
but I guess that, is it implicit then that if their equipment fails, if they have a 25-year warranty on panels and it fails in 4 years and they don't deal with it right away, are they still?
I think that would abrogate the contract.
That's what I would assume too. So it's probably implicit in there still, but
They might just get a chuckle out of the people putting together the proposal.
yeah,
I did take out the insurance
yeah,
stuff out of here.
Yeah.
Because we took out putting this on a piece of land that the town owns. We took that option
Did
out
we?
of here.
We took that option out altogether, or did we? So we didn't even leave that as a possibility.
No,
Okay.
because the one spot we were talking about,
Wasn't big enough.
well, I don't know that it's big enough for
Small
a small system, but
depends on-
well, really having a conversation with Brian, there's a little bit of I don't know if we want that down, So if we're gonna have that in here, he needs to come in and have that conversation with the
Probably
board.
cleaner not to have it on town property. And that way you avoid all risk of ownership or proprietary
Responsibility. Yeah.
right of way or anything like
Yeah.
that.
I did get a copy of Brattleboro's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, ours is a little different, but I think they got a lot of their language from the one that you had
We have
originally.
shared
Yeah.
documents, and,
Yeah.
and as I said originally, this was a completely different RFP, so I
Yeah.
apologize for some of the inclusions that were not relevant to this particular project.
So the time frame that I laid out on here was that, what did I put on here? distributing them May 20, well, that's Monday, which is probably a holiday, right? Is 27th a holiday?
Yes.
Yes.
And then questions due by June 15th, responses due by July 15th. And really that was more a selfish thing on my part because that's the year-end stuff. I'm going to be dealing with auditors and all of that, so it was more...
That doesn't seem unreasonable,
No, I mean,
though.
it could be a little faster turnaround probably, but I was being a little bit... I just know what I'm going to be dealing with at that time, so...
No, I think that
And
gives
then-
people plenty of time to do what they need to do, and it's not so far out that
Yeah.
it seems ridiculous. I think that seems reasonable.
So,
Yeah.
Look all right to you?
I think it leaves enough time to.
It seems to cover any of the issues we raised.
yeah, and then I'm definitely going to have to call on bid questions are going to have to be, they come to me and I go to you, because...
Well, they could go, I mean, they could go to the
Where's
team
the
with
next
us.
big
Yeah.
Depending on
thing?
whether you have to recuse yourself for the next item, I'm not sure what you're going to do, but we'll see how it goes, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I would contact you and then,
Yeah.
then we
Yeah,
can go
I
from
mean,
there.
theoretically, we still have an advisory team in place.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yep. So what
And
do we need to do?
Well, and I think that the process would be that we would send this out to prospective, yeah.
As well as post it
yeah,
in some places.
yeah, so, I mean, you know, looking for a list of,
I have a short list, but I
Yeah.
think there are other vendors
and then I
out there
can
that.
come up with, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm just looking for,
Whether we specifically send it to other vendors or post it in some appropriate places, I don't know.
You
But
should, yeah, you should try to get this out as widely as possible.
to as many
Yeah.
people, yeah, I would agree.
and we'll put it in the paper, which,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Put it on iPutney.
Yeah.
I mean, iPutney's rather limited in scope to Putney area people.
But there is also, isn't there like a state RFP site?
Yeah,
I think there is, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we could check with Rev Vermont too, they may have a clearinghouse for projects.
so, I don't know that I necessarily need a motion for this, just kind of that you guys are okay with this
That-
proposal
that
and that
we're
we're ready to
Proceeding ahead with the,
send it out.
Sounds good.
sounds good.
Yeah.
So be
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Huh?
Thank you.
Been a long haul
Yeah.
getting RFP together, but it's part of the process.
Yeah, better to have it.
The sun will
tweaked
be
more
there.
or less the way we, yeah, we hope.
Panels are cheaper now.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Application for allocation and connection.
Landmark College is installing a sprinkler system for grass area inside the colonnade. They are requesting to connect to the system. It's an increase of 3,000 gallons per day. It's a temporary, it's not, I mean, obviously, we're gonna run a sprinkler.
Seasonal.
Seasonal, that's
There we
the
go,
word.
that's what you're looking for.
So, we're just looking for approval, they're looking for approval for that before they have the engineers connect all of it.
So they're not connected?
They are, but this is a new connection for the
It's
sprinkler
just
system.
Yeah, so it has to be a separate connection?
Yeah. 'cause
And
they're-
it's a wet tap, is that?
Well, here, you look at the picture. They've been in contact with Chris Hayes and Joe and
Is that, that is an ERU, that's one or two,
no,
3,000 gallons.
3,000 to
23,000 gallons per day is
23,000
what they're
what they
looking for.
No, I think that's the existing, isn't it?
Oh, existing use.
250 is an ERU.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That-
Proposed use of different install sprinkler system, 3,000
So
gallons
you
per
do
day.
that math for me.
12 ERUs.
So,
Okay, we don't mind that much more income.
Certainly.
And
we have the
The
water.
capacity's not an issue.
no, it's not an issue. I guess that's and maybe you guys can't answer that question, but if they're increasing it by that many gallons per day and it's seasonal, do we only increase their, do we increase their
their
ERU?
bill seasonally? Or?
Seasonally or
Or is it
proportionally
for what just what they use?
for 6 months or for
They have
4
a right to
months.
use that now, so
Well,
you're paying for the right to use it as well.
Yeah.
you know, it's like a reserve or any of those other issues, I suppose. You're,
Guess I should know the answer to that question.
Well,
We
how do we, I mean,
we should
if,
know, right,
if we're metering, like if somebody's metered, is it a quarterly or does that go annual? When
It's
you,
quarterly.
it
No,
is.
quarterly.
But they're not using the water, they're basically reserving the.
Well, they're using it in
Water the grass.
for a
Oh,
season.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
Okay.
they are
Sprinkler.
using
I
it.
didn't hear grass water.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
They are
No, I
using
guess,
it.
right, I guess the question is whether we have the ability and or desire to, because it's gonna be metered anyway, to adjust the ERUs seasonally.
I'll
I
look
don't,
into
I
the way
don't
the
know.
policy's written as far as the billing procedure, but really from you guys, we're just looking for the approval for them to increase their
to
Usage.
this
usage
right.
by that 3,000
And
gallons per day.
We'll figure out a way to bill them
We
appropriately.
will.
Watering grass, you don't like the
Well,
idea.
yeah, I was wondering if in my deep memory as a former chair of the water system, if we had written something into the policy about watering grass, and it seems to me like it might be something they want to use private wells for. I'm not really sure how that works out and if we did actually have a policy for water. Because this is a town water system for town drinking water, and I'm not sure that we need to use drinking water for grass.
Well, I guess my take on it is I would like to see them use it because we have a lot of capacity that we could sell.
Exactly, yeah. I
I
think
mean, there's
if,
a lot of water and,
Yeah.
and
I think that if we had a limited supply,
that would be,
a more, I agree, philosophically, I hear what you're saying and I
Yeah,
agree
don't know
with
if we
you.
voted into
I mean,
the
it
policy
is-
or not. That's why.
Well, it might be worth checking the policy just to make sure there isn't anything, but we,
It's sort of a business use also. I mean, we have, you know, we're selling water in effect to a number of businesses that are gonna use it, not merely in a drinking water capacity or drinking.
I don't
inside,
remember
and
seeing
so-
anything in the
right.
policy. Do you remember anything,
Not
Laura,
really,
that
so.
you've probably read it more closely than I have, but,
Again, I would tend to
Yeah,
agree if we were looking at a real limitation on our,
then it would be one thing. The other thing
Right.
is it's a
But
nice, you know, I mean, that's a bunch of ERUs, that's a nice boost in the amount.
That the water system gets.
Exactly, which is definitely good for everybody else, so.
So as energy coordinator, my question then becomes, you know, what extra energy is used by the pumps to maintain that amount of water? And if we had a grid failure, I know that several members here have discussed that within our group, within our advisory group. If we had a grid failure and there was no power for a week, what's our reserve and what does this do during the peak season of watering grass to that reserve? And could we ameliorate that somehow by putting in, you know, a standalone solar powered system that feeds power to the pumps in the daytime when the sun's shining?
Well, the other thing,
I know, Daniel.
you know, I mean, it might be worth,
Thank you for taking the words out of my mouth, Dave.
but this might also be a situation because it's a unusual sort of / commercial application. Should there be any sort of limitations on? I mean, you know, for example, if this should be the first one turned off if we have a water issue. I don't know whether there's any way we can sort of write that into this allocation of the ERUs, but we might want to.
I would hope that you could.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that Landmark has an abundance of water on their property.
Right.
They pumped for days and still had plenty of flow.
Do you know when they're hoping to do this?
Yesterday, until they found out that they had to.
Ask us.
Yes, so the people that are installing that
Aquarius landscape
are up,
sprinklers.
they're up there this week. So he was waiting for a phone call from me tomorrow, whether we're a go or not a go.
I guess my feeling would be that we give it approval, but that approval is based on us coming up with amendment to either the policy or to this particular situation so that we're assured that they're not gonna be watering grass when people don't have drinking water.
In all fairness, are we going to establish a criteria system by which
The
who
whole
gets
system,
water,
yeah,
who gets water first?
yeah,
I mean, are we going to look at that whole ball of wax?
Well, I
No,
mean,
I'm just.
yeah, no, I
well,
totally hear
it's-
what you're saying, no, I agree.
That's
and
what
are we
we're
going to,
asking
I mean,
to
and
look at.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate, if somebody's down here watering their lawn,
Are we gonna say,
are we gonna, I mean, if
yeah,
that's part
yeah,
of
yeah.
it, then we should be doing it for everybody.
I agree,
And which is something I hadn't even thought about it, so.
I think that if you have a policy that
Yeah.
says, during periods of drought, it's one thing. If you have a policy that says during periods of drought, when there's a power failure,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it's
There
another
should
thing.
be.
Yeah.
And I since you have a lot of water, I don't think it's a real issue.
it's probably not, no, I mean, our source is
It's
very
probably not,
dependable,
but-
so, but I
Before
do think
someone,
it's a valid
you
point.
know, brings us into court for,
Yeah, but I'll
picking
talk
out
to-
one institution
Sure,
for,
right,
for applying a rule to,
right.
and saying, all right, so we gotta just be careful of that.
I'll review all that, so I mean,
Okay.
it's stuff I should
No, I think
know
that's
anyway, so,
So maybe we grant this and then we review the water policy in
Yeah.
general and put some contingencies in for that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
That's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right, I mean,
that makes most, I
to
mean,
establish what the.
other
right,
communities could
Sure.
have a water ban, certain
Right,
times of the
exactly.
year and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why
You know,
can't we
I'm just
do the same thing?
offhand, we have a situation where we sell a certain amount of water in Dummerston, to
Right.
Sunoco and
Right.
probably a couple of other
Do we
sites.
cut them off
Right,
first?
do they go
Right.
first, or something? Well, no, I mean,
Well,
it's
and Putney
right.
Paper and other
Putney
large,
Paper was
you know.
the other one I was thinking of because of
Yeah.
large volume of usage, so,
Yeah.
yes?
You might also want to say that Landmark will not be grandfathered in by this agreement.
Well, I'm not sure anybody would be grandfathered in. I mean, I think that if we were to make a
No, it
change
sounds
in
like
policy, it
we're
would be to
making
make a change in policy, but
An
we're,
amendment to the rules here is what we're
Right.
in the process of going forward with.
and, maybe there is some wording in the
might
policy
be
that
some-
already at least has a vague
Yeah.
covering of this, but I'm not sure it
well,
ever
I'll
sort
talk
of
to
came up.
Simon and find out how other communities handle those
Yeah,
kinds of
there you go.
issues. They deal with several communities that have big users and what do they do during either power outages or droughts or that kind of thing? What is their, is it written in their policy? Is it part of an I don't know. I'll ask them what they.
Yeah,
how they
and you
dealt
would
with
sort of
it.
assume that
There's
common
gotta be
sense would
precedent.
prevail and it wouldn't be an issue, but of course we know that doesn't necessarily happen. Also, with an operation like Putney Paper, I don't know whether they have the ability to,
To stop.
exactly, I mean, if things are rolling along,
Although I
I don't know how that works.
I can't ever get them straight. They're yes,
Well, they-
down.
The converting plant, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're pulling
They're both
water
on,
right
right?
out of the stream though.
Yeah.
so-
Right, sure, that's a lot of.
Yeah, I just don't know whether they could, it's not like you can just shut those machines off. I don't know. Okay, so
But in the interim, are we going to?
approve
grant
this?
them?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
All right, so we'll make that motion to approve the application for.
For the application for allocation and connection.
The allocation connection for landmarks.
Yeah, I'll second that.
If there is no further discussion, then all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't see any application fee paid here.
Well, that was a big discussion. There's nothing in our policy that covers new connections for existing customers within it's either new construction.
We'll make note of that, and
Mm.
when we
Yeah,
revisit the
yeah.
policy, we'll have to
Well,
look at that.
this is in fact, a sprinkler system is new construction.
I mean, if it's a
Joe
new,
came
it's
in
a
and he's
new-
all, what do you mean we're
It's a
not
new
paying it? I read the
device
policy,
using
he's like,
water,
I'm not sure
okay.
we can.
Well,
right.
clarification as we know.
No.
I mean, if it's a new tap into the system, then it's,
Hey,
Then
we've
it's-
got lots of paper.
I'll ask
We
them
can
for
make
us
the
for money
regulations
next time I
many
see 'em.
pages long. We need to.
I forget how often they watch these meetings. I'd have to tell them. Okay. Where am I?
Now, are we missing something that you're here for that we should be
we
covering
could.
sooner rather than later, or?
No, I was on the solar committee
Okay,
to do the RFP committee.
and now you're just here
And then,
for the entertainment purpose?
you know,
value.
it's fascinating how
Yeah.
the state government local government works.
The- The wheels grinding away?
Well, I did, spoke to you earlier about my own Putney project. We're putting up a community solar array up behind Santa's Land, beginning construction next month.
You're Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Nick.
I'm
Zucker.
Josh.
Nice to meet you.
Scott, Steve.
So it's, you know, it's not, it's kind of in response to the RFP, but it's not going to be, you know, a municipally, a singular array for the municipality. But there is excess capacity in it which the town could buy into. So that's just another way that the town could go, by owning panels in the community solar array rather than constructing your own.
Well, he should probably submit some sort of
Yeah, Nick actually
proposal.
probably didn't get to read the last and this existing RFP, so
Right.
it should be on your list to send to him as well. And he might be able to, you know, bring a counter proposal to the town to buy it.
Right, yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
we're open to,
I didn't want to bring it up too strongly while I was on the RFP committee. Because
Right.
I felt like that's kind of a conflict of interest.
yeah,
I'm selling basically a solar array, and you know, the town does need one. So once we get the proposals back, we can look at it and see, you know, if it makes sense for the town to go with community solar array or, you know, construct your own.
yeah,
But definitely send me, you know, whatever it is
an RFP.
that you're sending out. And my proposals can be a lot different than what everyone else is, but,
But if it's beneficial to us, then
Coming to the same ends.
I think we'd
right.
entertain it, yeah.
And what's the size of your system?
it's 147 kilowatts. We have about 70 kilowatts of capacity left. The rest has been reserved by most of the people in Putney and the surrounding area.
Good.
Excellent.
And that's as of now. We're continuing to get reservations in, so likely by the time we are ready to make a decision, it will be lower.
Well, yeah, we'll make sure you get an RFP and adapt as necessary.
So if Nick didn't look at this RFP, who on the RFP committee besides you, Daniel, did look at it?
I did send it out for review as an early copy before Cynthia and I got together, right after we learned that the first RFP that we put out was nullified by the fact that the state incentives went away for special clients, the town being a special client. So I put together this RFP essentially on my own, with help from Cynthia and feedback from the board. I did send an early copy out to the group and I got no responses back, so I assumed that either you read it or you just put it in the bin. And we had discussed making two RFPs as a committee.
Right.
We decided to focus on the first RFP because it seemed like a 50 kilowatt system was the most reasonable thing to put together for the town, to get the town into the solar energy arena. And just the landscape changed during the course of things.
The last I saw there were the two RFPs, one asking for up to 200
Right.
kilowatts, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, so this RFP has changed somewhat since that, what you've seen.
The major things that were the major things that were taken out of it were there was option, it was either one at the time or three, but that was the one where the town
Owns.
it's on town land and town owned. And then all of the insurance requirements were taken out of there because if we don't own it and it's not, we didn't need those. And then
Although we do still have in here presumably that, well, what did we talked about this? That they,
hold us harmless for.
yeah, that's still in
yeah,
there.
I mean, that they're properly insured to do what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's, so that was, those were, and it changed a little bit in the introduction because that had said the 50 to 250 size system that would be located on town of Putney land was the wording at the time, and we changed that a little bit to say that it would be in Green Mountain Power territory instead of on a piece of our land. But other than that, and actually, if anybody wants to see it, I think I have the original one where I crossed the things off that are on, so that you can see what's not there anymore.
We have plenty of those.
Yes.
I mean, this is also now a public document, so you're welcome to take one with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
You can
don't know that we do.
you can take this one.
I don't know, I think giving a developer a first shot at this might be somewhat.
I'm sure you'll review.
Well, it's all on the camera.
Anybody that wants to come in and get one, and we will have them
They're
out
here.
in the mail in the
Yeah.
next couple days.
I'll do my part to
How's
get it
that?
as soon as possible today. If you
Good
want,
point.
send me an email today and we'll get it out.
Okay, yeah. And we'll have them available here. And
Considering that they helped write this in essence a while back, it's okay. It's okay with me.
okay.
Yeah, no, and I think that, you know, the decision will be based on what's in the best interest of the town,
Right,
not,
yeah.
not obviously any sort of preferred.
Right, I mean, we we sat down and calculated the total usage of electricity per year in megawatt hours.
Right.
And it would be a much larger system than what Nick can offer.
Right, exactly, but if proportionally Nick's system is more cost effective than
Right,
other
if they
systems,
wanna
then
do two
we,
different, arrangements.
And you'll get me your short list tomorrow, and I'll write down some, because we probably should get this out Friday instead of this 27th, since none of us will be here.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
either relay for you, or I can give you my list of
Yeah,
people who have expressed interest.
Yeah, just as,
Whatever you like.
if you, any of them that you relay to somebody, just give me who they were so that we can keep them on a list of who we sent them to.
Okay.
That way we have a record of who we sent them to.
so approximately 260 megawatts a year.
It should say megawatt hours, because I
Megawatt.
did have mega.
It does say megawatt
Okay.
hours per year.
I did have megawatts over hours.
What sort of what size is that? So that's a
Yeah.
260 kilowatt system, is that right or not?
That would be about a 200 kilowatt system would
Okay.
provide, roughly, it's an estimate. Of fixed panels would provide the 200.
Approximately.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we came up with 230 kilowatts.
so somewhere around there.
Okay.
It depends on the equipment and a lot of things, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but somewhere around 200.
And if Daniel could increase our efficiency a little bit more, then maybe we could kick that down a couple notches.
It's complicated.
I'm kidding.
Because you have the schools, you have the wastewater treatment plant that I have no bearing on and whatnot, so I'm happy to do my part though.
And you already do. I was really being facetious.
Just out of curiosity, how much is the one that on the Green Mountain Power property up there by exit 5? Do you know how big a system that is?
Green Mountain.
I think that's around 50 kilowatts.
That's about
Yeah.
that size. What about Harlow's?
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to relate to.
This is a 60 kilowatt.
Yeah,
system.
that's,
So it's pretty.
So how many
Yeah.
acres?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's big.
Yeah.
The system that we're putting in next month is 147 kilowatts and it takes up just under an acre.
Right,
Okay.
there you go. So about 150 kilowatts on an acre.
Yeah,
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah.
All stationary.
Yeah, and it depends because the way you lay out your panels on your racking causes different panel pole spacing
Right.
for your rows, so that takes up some space. And
Right.
then if you shift it over to tracking arrays, which are much more efficient, more costly, but they collect more sunlight, then you have to space them appropriately so they're not shading each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
So you need more land area for that.
And it also really depends on where your site is and kind of what you have for shading around there, whether you're gonna go with fixed or tracking or whatever else.
Whether it makes sense, yeah.
So that would be something that when people get back with their RFP or with their proposals, they would be able to say, which system they're going with and why. have a piece of land, or are we still talking about down at the,
We're not, it's no longer.
This is
on
just a
public
power purchase agreement.
Yeah, it's really, it's shifted the nature of the RFP. It's all about purchasing power at a discount.
And significantly in part because of the incentive availability and incentives for construction, because there isn't a whole lot going on in that department. So.
okay.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
I'll see you.
Nuisance
I
control.
just put that on there to remind me to have you sign this.
Sign this.
You voted on this at the last meeting, and I didn't have a signature page. This has been did it show up in the paper today? Laura, did you check?
That was in the paper.
The animal control?
That was in the paper, like Friday.
Oh, okay.
Saturday,
What was
it
the one
was.
that we were looking for in the paper?
That was it.
Oh, okay. So that's been in the paper. It's posted in 60 days from that date. It'll become effective. There's a copy of it in my office if anybody wants to read it. Very intriguing. Good reading.
Road and bridge standards.
So, I know that you guys recently, within the last year or so, signed road and bridge standards, but since then,
They've changed.
they've changed. They collectively got together with the regional commission, state of Vermont came up with standards. We had John Alexander and a couple other people from the state come talk with Brian and myself to go through this, because I didn't really know. Brian was concerned with it being restrictive if something needed to be done. You know, how closely do they look at every little thing that they do, and what does substantial reconstruction mean? Because that's when you have to bring your roads up to this standard that we are saying that we want it to be. And, you know, the state they'll come out and they'll work with Brian and say, okay, if you're doing this project, then this is the time that you need to do that. So in his learning process of what that means, they'll do that with him. He has since been to road foreman meetings, and he's comfortable with what they have in here, and actually we increased what the state suggested in the roadways. It's all new or substantially reconstructed gravel roads shall have at least 18 inches thick. I think in the original it was 12. We already do 18, so we didn't want to drop that down. And then I think the other portion, the sub base, was 3 inches, and we brought it up to 6. And then the size of the culverts we changed a little bit. Those were standards we were already using. And in order for us to get reimbursed if we have another event, if our standards are less than what we're already doing, then we wouldn't get reimbursed for that. So we've held on to this for about 2 months, just going back and forth, Brian and I, and Brian brought it in the other day after we went to a road foreman meeting. He said, I feel comfortable with it. It's where it needs to be, and we want to get this signed in our records so that if something happens and we do have to apply for FEMA assistance, then, you know, we'll get
We're
the
covered.
10% or whatever the match is for having their standards. So I
Do-
don't know if you guys
Do we
have
need
any
a
questions
motion
about
on
it.
it as well?
Yeah, there was one small typo in there that might,
Okay.
I think it was for the driveway culverts. The written words say 15, but then in parentheses it
Oh,
says
okay.
18 inches.
Culverts.
Um,
All new driveway culverts must have a minimum depth. Oh yeah, look at that.
it was on one of the attachments online.
Oh,
I happened
yeah.
to see
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
So,
I couldn't.
yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't open the attachments for some reason.
Okay, yeah, I'll change that. Good catch. Did anybody else have any? I told Brian I'd answer as best I could if there was questions. No.
Get them out there
Yeah, so there
Get it
just
done.
needs to be a motion to approve the town road and bridge standards.
and, so moved.
Yep, second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the current road and bridge standards. If If there is no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So if you could sign this last page, I'll change that on that second page, the last,
Mhm.
The typo.
yeah. Hi, Richard.
All right. Truck bid.
I can't remember what I sent you with the truck bid. Did I send you anything yet, or is this the first time you're seeing it?
I
Um,
guess it was a couple of weeks ago.
no, because we just got them back.
Okay.
We solicited bids for a new truck, to be purchased after July 1st. We sent, requests to Springfield Auto Mall, and Shearer Chevrolet. We only had responses from Springfield Mart and Auto Mall. And after looking at the two bids, Brian recommends purchasing the truck from Springfield Auto Mart. They're similar. If you look at the one from Auto Mall, they didn't put a trade-in for our truck on the paperwork. He said he thinks it was $6,000, so even with a $6,000 trade, we're in about the same price range, within a few $100s. And the truck from Springfield Auto Mart had some power features that he thought would be fun.
What are, indeed.
We will still have to purchase some other add-ons, you know, the rack in the back of the truck. There's some other things, but we have $45,000 was what was budgeted to purchase it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would probably,
I will make a motion that we accept the bid for a new town pickup from,
I guess you can call it Springfield Buick GMC.
yes, we're calling it
That's what they-
Springfield Buick GMC. Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, all right.
The one?
Second there.
the only further discussion I have is that it is about $1,000 difference. And does that, if it is a $6,000 trade-in, then we'd be at $39,375 versus
Yeah, I wish I knew exactly what the
$46,776.
trade-in was. I mean, they didn't put it on here, which I don't understand why they
Which
didn't.
one?
The
Yeah.
Springfield,
Buick?
no,
No.
Automobile.
Right, they're, you're right.
No,
right.
Springfield
Springfield's
did,
offering
Auto Mall
$4,000
didn't.
Right.
on it,
Is what is it, 45, 75?
and
I mean, if it's apples to apples, and it's $1,000 less, I'm not sure why we'd go with that.
well, that's without establishing
Yeah,
that
1,000.
clear trade-in valuation from
I
this
can,
automobile here.
I can make him establish it.
Well, right. I'm
Well, I
sort
just,
of-
I mean, if it's $1,000,
I mean,
you know,
in
maybe.
a way, it's an incomplete bid by not doing that.
Well, if
In
we
a-
wanna get really
right,
technical,
I mean,
neither of them even got the bid
In on
On time,
right,
right.
right. No, I know.
Well,
We had to call them,
okay. I
and-
mean, is that a?
and Springfield Buick GMC got it in 17 minutes after it was due.
No.
And the other one didn't get it in until Monday, so, I mean, neither of them were on time, so I don't know if that.
I mean, I guess we
Apparently they didn't want
we
to sell
tend
us the
to
vehicle,
take-
I don't know.
we tend to take, you know, our road people's recommendation on these
Yeah,
purchases.
right,
So
no,
what
I
I'm,
agree.
what I'm wondering about if in the list of specs and options.
There's
that,
enough
you know,
difference
just going
there.
through this,
Right, no,
if
I know.
there's stuff here that makes a difference. you know, that we're getting something more from one or the other. Did Brian have anything to say about
He
that?
said it was some power features, whether it was power, I don't know,
Power
maybe it was a
windows
power
or-
window and power, I didn't ask him.
Nice. Pay extra to not have power windows. First thing to go.
Do you want me to try and clarify that with him before we, I mean, I can do that
I
well
just,
before
it's,
we go.
you know, it's in fact more than that, you know, it's $1,200-1,300. I'm, you know, and if that's Brian's choice, I just want to make sure that
Yeah,
we
okay,
know
that's
that
fine.
it's that difference. Does that seem reasonable? I mean, I totally, I'm
Yeah,
not,
no, yes.
I'm not second guessing Brian's recommendation. I'm just
Yeah, I mean, he
wondering
didn't say it was
if it's
anything
not
about service or
laid
any-
out sort of on paper.
Right.
Would you mind trying to call him?
Exactly.
Would you mind trying to call him?
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We would just want clarification on the, trade-in. And then what the differences were, what his,
These bells and whistles.
yeah, does he need it to? Do you want?
Use them. Yeah. Trying to-
We can wait. What's the matter?
Well, we're just chattering about when the secretary leaves the room, can we, like, just a meeting pause?
No, because
No.
I'll take minutes while she's gone.
Oh, okay. Thought about this.
I mean, yeah, I'm not arguing. Certainly,
No, I think it's fine. Yeah.
all things being the same,
$1,000
Brian's
is
recommendation is the way.
$1,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm gonna sneak out, get to work on this.
Thanks for coming.
Good luck with the rest of the meeting, I was flying in this truck.
And you can see that we go over these very thoroughly. So you know, all your I's
Well, I'm
and
wondering
T's.
why.
Yeah.
I'll come back with something good. Take care.
Why there would be
Thanks, Nick.
that considerable difference in the trade-in offer.
I don't understand why they didn't put it on there. That was kind of strange, I thought. But I thought it was kind of strange we had to track down the bid.
It's just as much fun
That is
for
hard
a
to believe,
municipality
especially since
to
they
buy
know
a
perfectly
vehicle
well
as it is
that
for a person. You know, you got to
we're
go
gonna
in.
Say, all you have to
buy
do is
somewhere,
stand on the
all they
lot
have to
and
do
they
is
You've
have
got
it,
to,
like-
right, you've got to go and do the song and dance, you know, with the
Yeah, that is surprising.
car and truck people. So
Maybe we sent it out too early. I mean, we gave them like, what, a month maybe? Maybe we should have sent it out 2 weeks before we
3
wanted it?
days. Yeah. They're used to high pressure sales.
I guess, I don't know.
well, the spray and liner was $1 less from Springfield.
I started
I
to
love
do that and I
people.
thought,
It's always a
It's,
well, one place words it different than the other, so I didn't know if I was comparing apples to apples, but.
it's about the same. 1.5 foot, 75, 78. The plow's about 1,000 less. Which is interesting. So that's just
1,000 less from.
from Springfield. $7,500 from.
Yeah.
So it's really just the actual vehicle price.
Laura's got the scoop.
Which
Okay, so, first off, Brian said that he thought they said 6,000 on the Automall trade-in, but they never put it in writing, so he's not sure what that was. Felt like maybe they were kind of leaving it open, could change. And then the Springfield Automart, quote was with chrome bumpers, the Automall one had, painted bumpers. the Springfield Automark one had power heated mirrors and windows, where the Automall one may have not had power windows. And the Springfield one also included a remote start, and Automall did not. Those are the things he could remember on the phone.
And I guess with the unknown of the trade-in and them not putting it on the paperwork, I need some of those.
Oh,
And
no,
remote
no, I'll say
start.
no, that's it. If you're plowing,
If
Oh,
you're
no,
plowing.
of course, of
Yeah.
course. No.
you really want it, 'cause it's hard.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. That's,
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
that's
a good
not
point.
a luxury at all, I think. It's a safety issue.
Yeah, good point, Steve.
No, I mean, I having done some of it,
Yeah.
I know you can't see
Anything.
anything.
Okay, so assuming that we don't know exactly, I mean, go ahead and approve it as it is. Everybody comfortable with that? I mean, Brian's choice.
Can it be approved in knowing that?
Contingent upon the
Contingent
trade-in
upon
value.
the if there's only $1,000 trade-in or something like that.
Well, I can bring it back.
Yeah, that'd be,
I mean, it's not like we're buying it tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the trade-in.
I'll withdraw the motion.
We're going to table the motion.
Table the motion. There we go. How
Sorry,
about
I didn't get, no, I should have got more information on that, I think, but.
that? Oh, that's no, that's all right. It stopped us and made us look at it a little
Yeah.
closer. I mean, it's would be fair and reasonable at this point for the other dealership, the Automall, to provide a trade-in valuation.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that, that's fine.
Period. And that's. I mean, maybe we should have made that clear in
I
our
should have,
request.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
generally, it's usually sort of a part and parcel of the deal.
You would assume.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
this isn't the
given with
first
the
time they've
larger
given
equipment,
Right,
it's-
and it was
it's
probably in the
a deal breaker in the larger stuff.
I think it was,
probably written up
I
as
think it was, we
including a
forgot to do
trade-in.
it, and,
Right.
yeah.
Well, we'll give you about $6,000. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, I think
That doesn't
that's
work.
what-
Well, just ask them if did they say 9 or 10 grand?
Yeah, exactly.
Just ask them like that.
Okay, I'll have Brian do that.
Because if it's 10, we'll take
Can
it.
you do that?
Oh, I didn't get warrants, did you, is Anita here?
Kathleen, did you have something specific, or were you just here for entertainment?
No, I was not here just for the entertainment. I just wanted to give you an update about, that we only received 2 bids for the cemetery mowings. And they were exactly the 2 people that had their, mowing. So,
You can give a copy of that to Laura for the
Yes.
minutes. Can I have a copy?
well, I only have, sorry,
Thank you.
No, I'll take a look at those.
We can share.
We can share.
No, actually, one question I
only
had
have one
earlier
share, but wouldn't it?
is, if they don't know how often they're gonna be mowing, how do they bid? I don't understand how they bid on it.
well, actually, people bid according to, it's sort of a hard thing to say, because it depends on water and sun.
Right,
So it's like up to a certain amount of times. Fortunately, we have one person who put in bids who's been doing it for so long that he has a pretty good idea.
mhm,
And then other people who contacted me asked, and I let them know. But some people called and said, well, I'm just gonna decide how many times. And I said, yeah, that's good too. So, cause it's really hard to
Mhm.
say, like if we say, no, you can't do it more than 6 times, and we need it more than 6 times, it can affect their price.
right. So what happens if it needs it 10 times?
Well, I mean, we put a cap on it. Last year was the first time that we had the 5-acre cemetery,
Right.
and that was a huge
I know,
cemetery.
I know.
Yeah, so we put a cap on the many times for that.
Okay.
And then the guy who did it, Eric McGowan, came back and told us what he thought, you know, and that it really did need a little bit more than what it was we
Okay.
had. So, because it depends on the season. I mean,
Right.
if it's still growing and it's October, you know, they have to come to us and ask if they are going to mow it or not,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of
So
like bidding on
basically,
plowing, you know, someone, you know, one winter
Yeah,
it's
it's
snowing,
really hard
and
to say.
and another it's not, and
Yeah.
and generally people will, you know, get a you know, a fixed sort of a fixed price on it, or do it on a per
Yeah.
you know
Mowing
per
basis.
basis,
Right.
but they tend to charge a little more
If it's
Yeah.
yeah.
on a per
Right,
basis.
and people who actually do mowings, you know, and do bids on mowings have a pretty good sense. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, more than I, so. But
Yep,
this was
yep,
the
yes.
update.
It tends to even out over the years as
Does
well.
this include sheep?
No, that's a later conversation. The sheep and the ground cover is gonna be, once I get more data, this is just about the mowings. And also to let you know that I mean, I was surprised we only had the 2 bids. Especially since I had lots of calls.
so Mount Pleasant is separated out from the others,
Right.
and Jesse didn't bid on Mount Pleasant?
Well, not really. What Jesse said was that he was unsure about how many times it would really need it because of the size of it. See, what Eric McGowan does is he comes in with a few people and does it,
Right.
and it's just Jesse doing it. So where Eric would have one person on a machine and 2 people doing the handwork, Jesse doesn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and actually both of them had conversations with me about each other and, you know, praising each other's work, which I thought was great. I mean, it's wonderful that people can feel that way about each other and both be bidding on things. And I mean, clearly they know each other. And I can't believe Jesse Amadon's been doing it for 17 years.
So,
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
how do we want to address this? I mean,
All those trees.
stay with policy, don't stay with, you know, I mean,
That's
if
you
we
guys.
created a policy,
Yeah, right. If we've
but
gone
it's
through
going to
all
save
this
us a
fun,
chunk of change,
and
do
the
we,
reasons
how do we
for
do that?
the reasons for adopting that and not using the town insurance,
Right,
where that it's while it presents an immediate savings, that if we are confronted with
a long-term
long-term
thing,
expense.
right,
Well,
Which is why we adopted the policy
Policy.
to begin with.
right.
well, let me just interject with the long-term thing. We are actively looking into ground covers for the cemeteries because whatever happens, spending this kind of money for mowing is really motivating us. I mean, getting the 5-acre cemetery was what really changed. It really changed the purse on it. So, if we can get ground covers put in, it's still gonna be a couple years to have it all, be up and running, but, and still there would have to be a maintenance thing of a couple of times, cause they would still be the spring and the fall. You know, we'd still have raking, I mean, it's not as if that would stop, but the 10 or 15 times mowing or 6 times mowing, we'd really like to stop. And actually, I spoke to both of them about that too.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the long-term issue is the long-term liability for us. It's the question of whether, you know, if we carry somebody on our insurance, it opens us up to a long-term liability that,
Well, also, I'm not expecting you guys to decide. I just wanted to give you the update so that you know. I mean, well, actually, you do have to decide somewhat because the mowing is going to take place
Needs to
as soon as
happen.
the rain is
Right.
stopped. So,
I mean, I think if we have a policy, then we have to stick with our
The
policy.
only thing I have to say about it is that if we do it for one,
Right, we do it for
we
everybody.
need to do it for everybody.
Right.
I don't have a preference,
Right.
really, I don't.
No, I hear you.
But if you do it for this person,
Right,
the next person that comes in,
is gonna say, this is what I'm entitled to. Yeah,
yes.
No,
And, that,
these-
and if
these
and
are
if you guys are
insurance.
okay with when somebody comes in and requests that, it's just a phone call for us to call the insurance company
and add them on
and
there.
add them. It's not this, yeah, but it's not. It's totally up to you guys. You know how I feel about it. So,
Yeah,
but we can't do it for one and not for other people.
right.
The other thing that I did get from people was, they were kind of surprised about the, workman's comp. And so what I did.
What do you mean? Who was surprised by the workman's comp?
I got 2 phone calls from, people who said, well, the other cemeteries or the other towns that I work with don't require it. And all I said was, well, whatever other towns do, they do. You can give me a bid showing with and without if you want. That's fine.
Well, that's negligent on the part of other towns if they're not.
But I mean, I don't wanna speak for other towns.
Well, she's right. They are doing it because VLCT and the passive insurance is allowing them to use a hold harmless agreement.
Right.
They are.
Which is totally useless, as
Which
we've
I've been
discussed.
told
Right.
that it's not worth the paper that it's written on.
Right,
So
right.
she's absolutely right. There are. I'm sure there's
Right.
other towns that are letting them do it.
Yeah, but I couldn't speak to that, I mean, when they called, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we want to do? Policy's policy and we stay with it? Or do we consider amending the policy or not? I mean, we've had this discussion 16 times in the
All right,
last
I was
couple
going to
weeks,
say,
so,
reach the point where we finally adopted the
Well, I mean,
policy.
this is the point where I had numbers to bring to you, that's all.
Right.
I mean, I was actually hoping for a lot more numbers. I mean, I was hoping for more people, but I didn't get them, so.
I mean, I guess it just brings up, it exemplifies the point that we've been discussing about of the additional cost of the workers' comp, and this puts a number on it, is it worth our while to look at individual cases in order to save that money or not?
Yeah. It's up to. I'm sure. I'm gonna knock on wood. I'm sure in probably your term on the board and probably my lifetime here, probably nothing
Is ever going to come up
is
again?
ever going to happen.
Right.
We probably,
Right.
yeah,
But that's insurance, that's,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably he's been doing it for years, or
Right.
other people have been working for us for years that might not have had it, and nothing has ever happened.
right. But as we
but-
well know with these things, all it takes is once. So, I mean, I don't know. Opinion?
See, I'm a handshake kind of guy.
Yeah,
And so this is where I have problems with it because,
it's
No,
it's an extra $1,800,
yeah.
Yeah,
which you need to spend.
I don't like it at all.
I know,
tend
none
to
of us
agree with
do.
you,
I know.
but
I mean, it makes
The
our
fact
life
is
hard
that
here
we're-
too. It's hard to find somebody. Well, I had to have you come do the door because you're on our payroll.
we are dealing.
I didn't even get paid.
We are dealing with a larger world that doesn't give a damn about our concerns.
I know.
Frankly.
Absolutely.
And therefore, the need to cover ourselves appropriately doesn't disappear.
Right.
And therefore, our responsibility to carry those out.
Well,
So I
which
would
which the addition of the additional $150 covers us appropriately, but
Yeah.
there could be long-term expenses to that.
And as you
Beyond
say, the next person, the next person, and the next person.
Right.
And what about people
it would
who
make
currently,
her life and my life
who are paying?
so much easier if we knew anybody we hired without workers'
Had
comp.
workers' comp.
No, or if they didn't, that we just add them
Right.
because it's hard to find people
With workers'
with workers' comp.
Right.
But
I know Brad carries himself when he plows to the town.
Right.
These people, people are already paying. So there's unfortunately a fairness and responsibility to people that we hire. if, you know, some people are and some people aren't.
Yeah,
So, I don't know.
frankly, I'm surprised that this discussion is coming up
again. I know.
Because I just,
agree.
I thought it was settled, and I thought that
I'll
whatever was
definitely vote for
decided.
Sheed.
But if it's a philosophical issue of just wanting to, you know, if this is what the town of Putney wants to be able to hire people in these positions where they don't have, you know, the ability to pay for workers' comp, they're just trying to make money, which I totally get. I've been there, I've done it. It's totally up to you guys, but as far as me being in an administrative position, I'm not taking on the responsibility of making that decision
Recommend
because I
against
know
that.
who would
Right.
take the fall for it if something happened,
Right.
and it would be me.
Okay.
And I'm not
Well,
and I'm not going to do that.
the agencies that are responsible have, you know, said this is,
The
you know,
insurance
this
company
is
has
what the
said,
law
the league
is.
has said yes.
You know.
So, but
Okay,
that doesn't
so-
mean as a community you can't decide something different. I mean, I don't. That's why we have local
Yeah.
control.
And I wanna say that I'm not bringing this up to open a can of worms again. I'm bringing it up because these were the numbers and I wanted you guys to know them. That's all.
Right.
You know, I mean, this is, you know, this is just full disclosure. This is what I got. So,
Okay. Well, you know, we put it out as people needing to carry their own insurance, so we're sticking with that. And does that sound? I mean, you know, it costs us more. It sucks, but it's the reality we probably should stick with.
I guess I see that. Unfortunately, I just see that's the world today.
I know.
And,
I know.
I mean, this, you know, that's the thing. There's probably a lot of people who've been in this area for a long time or older or whatever who wouldn't even think of holding the town liable for something if it was their
Right.
own negligence. You know, even if they were working. But
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's changing.
Unfortunately,
That's changing.
Unfortunately,
So
it's
fast.
not even a choice
You know.
because I went for an MRI 2 weeks ago.
Right.
4 times on that form it asked me where my injury happened.
Yeah.
Was it work related? Was
Right.
it what property did it
Right.
happen on?
Mhm.
You don't even.
Right.
I mean, it
It's out
forces
of your-
people
it's out
actually
of
to
your
lie on
hands.
those forms
Right.
because you don't want to hold people responsible for that. It's a horrible. It's bleh, I hate it.
We have legal counsel here. We could take advantage of it.
Even a person's individual health insurance plan will ask the kind of question that Cynthia was just talking about, and the health insurer will bring a claim against the town.
Right.
If they have to cover an individual's injury, and the individual has nothing to say about that whatsoever.
Right.
Mm.
That's, again, just
What
one
it
of
is.
those realities of the 21st century that you
Yeah.
have to live with and pay for.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think based on that, let's stick with our policy. And I mean, you've already hired these people, so or you've agreed to the contract, so
we've agreed. The only thing that was left pending was whether or not.
Jesse gets his own insurance.
Right, but.
So he does.
Yeah, and I mean, he's ready to move with it. I just, like I said, I wanted you to know, I mean, it isn't, it's fine either way, and I'm happy to be having the cemeteries cared for either way, so.
Yeah.
And like I said, it just motivates us to do something
Different. Yeah.
different in the long term, which, I mean, we wanted to do anyway.
Okay. So we don't have to do anything about this.
It wasn't warned, so I
Right.
don't think that you even.
We
No.
can't. And right. And we don't have to. I mean, that's
No, this was just information, this was
Okay.
just, yeah.
all right. So that we have warrants.
Yep. And then I don't have anything else under any of this other stuff. A question?
Oh, no. Leave
Just
it.
a huh?
Yeah, just a, yes.
As long as you don't name names, it's
Right.
probably okay.
Or grab my chest.
$7 million.
Cynthia, stop.
123.
Yeah, that was actually quite. Are we supposed to examine all these? Or?
Well, it's always, you know, if
Yeah,
there's,
I know.
and you know, it's also, you know, a learning curve of where does all that money go?
Right.
You know, and it's astounding how much, you know, just goes out on a daily basis. It's a business, and there's a lot of expenses.
And the payroll ones are pretty much what the payroll.
The payroll
is.
ones
Yeah,
are,
that-
you know,
you know,
very
yeah.
consistent with
These, I think I said before, what I tend to do is scroll down and sort of pick one or two of the big ones and look
Say,
at them.
"What's that?
and,
What's that?"
You know, wait a minute, why are we?
Paying interest again,
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a.
Well, some of them aren't. You know, when you see $236,000 on there or something, it's like, yeah, I probably ought to know where that's going.
that's usually a big
School.
payment to the school.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. One school learned down there.
I wonder
The
if
high
there's
school.
a good lawn mowing solar-powered robot thing that you could just let loose and find a border, let it go to town and have it snip the edges around. The
They're certainly out there.
right.
Yeah, my brother was trying to
Do you
design.
need insurance for that or what?
I don't
Well-
know. That's a
The
good
robot
question.
doesn't go rogue
What's
on
the-
you,
Yes,
I guess.
yes,
I don't know.
liability
I would imagine you would have a liability insurance on
There's
it,
insurance
like there
for
would be on
everything.
any piece of equipment.
Right.
You know, and that's probably a really good question as time goes on, you know.
I'm
I
guessing
suppose.
our topography would not lend to that.
Oh, for God's sakes, you can drop a rocket in somebody's window and have
No, no, I'm talking about, no, but I'm talking about,
I think we
well,
can figure out
just
the
solar and, I think it,
Under an oak tree and you're done for the day.
It would
if
be
you were
a
in, you know,
conversation
if you were in Kansas, it would be great, but, I'm not
Stuck
sure
on a
you can get away
route,
with
back
it.
and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to get up there.
Josh, what about some little white goats?
That's
That
right.
too, No, well, yes,
Well, the goats
except-
will, right.
Goats might
Yeah.
be
The goats might be problematic in that they'll start eating everything.
Well, I'm talking about little ones. But
Well, they'll just eat all the low bushes.
if you can find them with
Fainting
solar
ones.
fence,
The fainting goats.
and
Notice the
move
word
them
here.
from place to place.
Everyone
Yeah.
from the solar advisory team uses that word at least once in the sentence, solar fence, solar powered robot, and we track
We're
solar.
thinking.
I don't have anything else if you're
Okay.
waiting for me to,
So we need to have a
unless
motion.
somebody else here has something else.
Wasn't there something on policy for tree lighting?
Well, it's under old business,
Oh,
but I don't
okay.
have any
Not there
update. I have an update of the keep calling Green Mountain Power to find out why our bill hasn't
Oh,
changed.
yes, that's a different issue though.
Yeah, it is a bigger, and I'll get to it. I haven't forgotten about
Would
it.
you be willing to fill me in on that?
The solar, geez, now I'm saying solar. Streetlight policy? Well, we have a streetlight policy that's been drafted and we need to adopt it. I've been waiting in the meantime to get a good handle on the streetlights that we have and make sure we're being billed properly. And since they've done the switch out of the two from the, whatever it was before,
From
the LED.
incandescents to LED
Yeah.
lights.
Our bill has remained the same. We're not being billed at the new
In
rates.
spite of the fact that we removed over 20 lights
Right.
in the area, and I think that,
So you're being billed per light as opposed to per watt?
yes, streetlights are billed per light, it's a fixed fee.
Based on
per
what
pole,
type of,
Based on what type of.
Sort of like a
light it is.
lease agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
So-
the policy was made to address where the town's responsibility for lighting ends and how to efficiently address intersections and places of traffic, to have a clear policy for removing a lot of those lights, which we did
Which-
already.
yeah, they're not really the same issue. What I'm waiting for and what the policy is, it's just I've kind of lumped it together as a project so that I can kind of do it all at one time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, I gotta
And I
get,
still would like a street light up at River Road.
I have to pressure Green Mountain Power. Right, so that's the kind of stuff I need to get a handle and then figure out, well, I don't know where you're talking about at River Road, but like, oh, you mean a light, a traffic light?
No,
Oh,
no, but usually when you go down a country road or a state road,
uh-huh.
and there's a road off to the right or left, there's a street light there saying that this is an intersection. And I think
There
that,
wasn't one there
at
before.
River Road, there ought to be a street light. I mentioned this numbers of town managers ago.
We'll start on that.
Numbers of them.
Well, this is exactly what the policy would address.
Yeah.
Right, where we're missing some that they should have and where we take away some that,
Yeah, I mean, there's streetlights that go up Route 5 towards River Road, and I'm not sure how far they get. There was several removed from River Road, and then one was requested by a landowner to be replaced. And again, if a street policy was in place, it might have been clearer, our actions at the time, you know. So it's important. I'm not sure you want to keep them lumped together as a project, so it's important, I think, to have.
well,
a policy
I need to.
I think she just lumps it together in her head, not as a.
sorry.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, not, you're right, a little bit of both, but a lot of it for me is I'm not sure which streetlights we're being billed for right now.
Right.
So I need to figure out which
Right.
streetlights we're being billed for, because I don't want to remove something that is not on our bill, and I certainly don't want to pay for something that is not our streetlight.
Right.
And at this point right now, I don't even know, I think we're being billed for way more than we even have.
Right.
This sounds like
And
it should
we're
be
still be
it sounds like it should be a simple phone call, but obviously
It's
it's
not.
proving
Right.
not to be a
It is
simple
proving
phone call.
not to be.
So
And it's,
who do we have to step on to get
Yes.
an answer
Right.
as to this billing process?
but that's the map they're using to bill us.
Right.
So I'm kind of lumping it together because, well, I just need to, because it's a
Right, no, and I
project
think,
want
but
to
I
lump
think the
together.
lumping, I think what Daniel is saying is true, that, you know, they're two separate
They are two
issues.
separate, I agree.
But you're lumping them together because they both have to do with how much we're getting charged for streetlights and, you know.
And just
There's a common
to throw a third
Exactly.
time,
Yeah,
a
it's
third
just
round in
really
there. I suspect that we
what is on
probably
my
can
priority
address
list, and that one keeps falling
Right.
back because I keep forgetting about the, it's there, it's,
Did the street lights go out last night?
in the
Did
lightning.
we-
I don't know. I have
Did we
no
lose
idea.
power last night?
We didn't.
Well, I didn't lose power up on the top of the hill, and the thunderstorm was spectacular.
Yeah, it was impressive, wasn't
I
it?
was, waiting for my roof to part or something. It was really pretty colorful.
Well, I
It
couldn't
was-
tell whether everybody
but
was
we didn't
dark
lose power,
except me or not.
surprisingly
And of course
enough.
I was solar.
Don't think so. We didn't.
And I would also suggest that probably a good time to address this streetlight at that intersection of River Road and whatnot is proceeding ahead with this sidewalk.
Yeah, I would
issue
think that
as
would be
well.
true too.
I would
Well,
imagine
the
at least.
Sidewalk probably won't go up.
No,
Right.
well, right. But lighting will be questioned and brought
Part of
up,
that,
and
yeah.
part of the whole part and parcel. Give it another 10 years; it'll get there.
20.
it is
Come on.
something I want to cross off my list. I just haven't, I just
These
haven't.
wheels grind
Just out of curiosity,
slowly.
who owns the streetlights? Is it the town owned them?
Greenman Tower.
Very,
And we lease them,
I see,
or
okay.
it's a whole pack. It's a product and energy lead. I mean that we pay X amount per year to have the physical structure there and for it to be lit.
right. But I think
So-
you, as an individual, can also put a pole up and put a light up.
Right.
You know.
And friends meeting are putting up too. Just to share information.
Okay, so if I get 2 more added to the bill, I should,
Right. Because it was a lot of friends meeting, not us.
So if I may suggest that the policy be separated from the debacle of the billing, just for the sake of implementing a policy sooner rather than later, I would.
Yeah. Yeah, because they don't have anything to do with each other. So,
Other than
I hear
I'm
that.
just
No, I
trying
know.
to
Well,
delegate
how
my
about
time.
how about an
that's
angry
all.
letter from the Energy Commission to the
No, I've
to
already
Green
seen
Mountain
that.
Power and say why
I
I'm.
did that.
Oh,
The
okay.
problem was, yeah,
And
we
you
did,
haven't gotten
but
any
it just
kind of-
never
yeah.
got,
They completely ignored it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
who did?
The Green Mountain Power and the representatives. We never heard back from them after I sent that letter asking them why the map hasn't been updated. Why
Yeah,
the
it's
town
totally
didn't-
that-
The
yeah,
last
I
word in
mean,
their title, right?
Lots of it.
And I promise I will get to it. I just am really trying to manage my
Oh,
time on
yes.
projects.
Okay. So, if there's nothing further, we should probably move on.
I don't have
to,
anything else.
we have an executive session, so.
So, you need me to get together with you about the policy? I know I need to touch base with you about lighting at the pool.
Yeah, I have that note at the ready.
So,
Presuming this executive session is.
yeah, we,
They need to make a motion to go into executive session.
it is and isn't,
It is and isn't?
yes.
Take care.
Thank you.
So,
Do I get to listen in on this?
yes, you're invited to this. So, motion to go into executive session,
So moved.
Second?
all in favor? Aye. And we won't be making any decisions based on it.